Good evening, everyone. It is 7:04 p.m. and I hereby call to order the April 2023 meeting of the Village of Tivoli Board of Trustees. Would you please join me in rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll begin with a village clerk's report. Clerk Bruno, please.
Yes, in the past month, there were 398 trash tags sold. Treasurer Day processed 3 payrolls. Our deputy clerk continues to work with and assist with the planning and zoning boards. And a follow-up from village elections, which were held on Tuesday, March 21st, which seems like a very long time ago. But it was the Tuesday after the March meeting. The results are as follows. There were 152 total votes. Mayor Griffith received 148 votes. Trustee Baldino received 138 votes. Trustee Schilling received 135 votes. There were 2 write-ins, but there were not any absentee ballots.
Thank you, Clerk Bruno. Congratulations to our re-elected trustees, and thank you for serving. And also thank you to our elections inspectors that was a very beautiful day that they were in there for, what, 10 hours? 9 hours?
It was a long day.
It was beautiful out. So.
Yes.
Okay, trustees, in your binders, we have the March 15th regular meeting minutes, March 21st special meeting minutes, and April 12th public hearing minutes and workshop minutes. You've had a chance to review these. Is there a motion to approve all sets of minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the treasurer's report. This month, in the general fund, the A fund, we spent $48,773.22, which is also our grand total, $48,773.22. Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
That was Baldino, followed by Schilling. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to a zoning report. Trustee Schilling, want to read that one? I think it's the first one. I have the orange pad. Yeah, there we go.
Below are the activities from the Code Enforcement Department for the above mentioned time frame. This was for March. Building permits reviewed 4, building permits issued 3, complaints 2, complaints investigated 2, zoning property maintenance violations 6, appearance tickets 0, municipal searches 0, inspections 12, code enforcement training provided by Z3, that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Schilling. At this time, we will welcome public comment on agenda items only. There will be further public comment at the end of the meeting. The board meeting following the village elections is the annual reorganizational meeting, so there are a number of business items related to that. We have the reorg packet that we do every year, a resolution relating to the annual reorg and our code of ethics, and then we have 3 other actions. A local law for the firefighter property tax exemption. We'll be voting on the budget for the coming year, and then we are going to submit a grant under the Municipal Investment Grant Program for the firehouse expansion in the amount of $300,000. Are there any public comments on the agenda items? Okay, we'll jump right in, and of course you'll get another chance at the end of the meeting for any topic. I'll get situated here. Okay, so first we have the adoption of the reorganizational package. This, trustees, you have in your binder. This has who's on the village board, who the village clerk and administrative officers are, the justice court, other officials and representatives, our official bank and newspaper, those being M&T and the Daily Freeman, the village board and the planning board and the court's meeting schedule, the trustees' department responsibilities, the Department of Public Works responsibilities, the members of the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals, their terms of office, the village council, village engineer, village planner, and village building inspector and code enforcement officer, and the several committees. So this has been updated every year. There's a copy of that on the village website and also available in the clerk's office. So with that, is there a motion to adopt the reorganizational package?
So moved.
That was moved by Mangieri and seconded by Baldino. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, next we have the resolution relating to the annual reorganization. So again, this states our meeting dates, which will continue to be workshops at 6 on the second and third Wednesdays, and the regular board meeting third Wednesdays at 7. Kingston Freeman is our paper, M&T is our bank. Petty cash kept on hand will be $100. The mileage reimbursement rate for village officials and employees who incur mileage is 58.5 cents per mile. And this also has our blanket bonds that we get coverage every year for anyone who handles money in the village. Check signing powers, which are the treasurer, myself, and in my absence, the deputy mayor. We went over this in the workshop, so at this time, is there a motion to adopt the annual reorg resolution?
And Mr. Mayor, could I
Yes.
just note that the mileage rate did increase to 65.5 cents, and I think that was one of those email issues that we had.
Okay, could you say it again? 60?
65.5, and whether you want to, you're following the IRS rules.
Yes, well, we would like to do that. It's not like gas hasn't been very high. Just, we don't want to burden our employees with that. So you said 65?
65.5 for business purposes is the new IRS rule
Okay.
for 2023.
You've got that, Robin?
I do.
Great, very good. Okay, thank you for that change,
Yep.
Council. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call. Deputy Mayor Manger?
Aye.
Trustee Baldino?
Aye.
Trustee Schilling?
Aye.
Trustee Mangieri?
Aye.
Also vote aye. Next, we have our Code of Ethics, which we carefully read in the hour before this meeting every year. This also gets distributed to all village officers and employees. And for the public, this is calls out what could be a conflict of interest, limits any potential gifts or appearance of gifts to $75 or less. Calls out you can't preside over something involving your family or your business interest or something like that, with the single exception of village employment. So if we didn't let certain relatives get jobs in the village, we wouldn't have enough employees. So
Nico, for example.
yes, keeping Nico in line. So, but again, we take this very seriously. It's very important. I'm pleased that we haven't had any big scandals around here or small scandals around here. It does really matter, and we are always very careful to read this thoroughly at this meeting. With that, is there a motion to readopt the Code of Ethics?
Move.
And second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Major?
Aye.
Trustee Baldino?
Aye.
Trustee Schilling?
Aye.
Trustee Mangieri?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Okay, that concludes our reorg actions. Next, we have the resolution adopting local law C proposed of 2023, amending chapter 205, article 3 of the Village of Tivoli Code regarding volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. This is a new law that will grant, under certain terms, those who volunteer in our fire and rescue squad a 10% property tax exemption on village taxes. The county has already done this, the town has already done this. This is a state state law, counsel, originally?
It is a state authorizing legislation, because for any tax law, you're not allowed to do that unless you have an authorizing law from the state allowing you to make that decision.
Right.
So this is a local option, opt-in kind of provision.
And when the state offered that, the localities had the choice of 1 year of service to 5 years of service,
Right.
right? So we're saying 3 years of service, when you put in your 3 years as a volunteer emergency responder, you could access this benefit. And we had our public hearing for this last week. So with that, is there a motion to adopt the resolution for local law C? Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. Deputy Mayor Major?
Aye.
Trustee Baldino? Trustee Schilling?
Aye.
Trustee Mangieri?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, and this will become local law 3. It's a good time, can never do it enough, to thank our first responders. We're very proud and grateful and fortunate that the Village Tivoli Fire Department is one of the largest, best retention, and constantly growing departments in our area. What it would cost to have a paid service, that would basically be the end of the Village Tivoli.
Sink the duck.
By the time you've got compensation and insurance and retirement and all those benefits, it's a tremendous amount of money. So we're very, very fortunate that we have so many friends and neighbors who will volunteer. It just can't be overstated, the sacrifice that they make and how committed they are. So this modest benefit is among the many things we try and do to recognize their service to the community.
Can I, this is the 19th today, right?
Yes.
So I think I'm going to have to ask you to back up,
Okay.
because I'm looking at the affidavit of publication that you published for this law, and it says a public hearing will be held on April 19th. So I think you better open a hearing, go back and redo what you just did.
Okay, so,
Because I know you opened a hearing, so that will have to be treated as an informal hearing. I guess I would ask you to report any comments that you received at that hearing, and then open this hearing and put that on the record, okay?
okay, so open a hearing on another night?
No, now,
Right now?
because it says you're gonna hold it on April 19th.
Okay, very
I
good.
don't
Just
know
wanna make sure I
what happened,
understand.
but that's what I'm looking at your affidavit, and that's what the affidavit says.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for that catch. We will slow down and back up and reopen and continue
Sorry
the
about
public
that.
hearing. That's why you're here,
I
Chris.
haven't been at all your meetings, so. Yeah.
All right, with that, is there a motion to reopen the public hearing on local law C? And then a second?
Second.
Okay, we, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so our public hearing is reopened on this local law. And we'll welcome any public comment on that. I believe we had nobody show up last week, right? Yeah, so we'll keep that open for a few moments and give folks an opportunity.
Question,
Yes,
you indicated that you're going to set the requirement of 3 years of service,
yes.
and then being active, remaining active after that point?
Yes.
And then what happens if they drop off for 5 years? Do they lose the exemption of 5 years? Or is it continue in perpetuity?
Not sure, that's a very good question. Doesn't seem they could drop out for too many years and then just sort of have it keep going. I don't know, I mean, the
So
idea.
there's a provision for somebody who accrues 20 years of active service to have exemption for life, as long as they remain primary residents in Tivoli.
If they've done 20 years.
20 years,
Okay.
right. Otherwise, they have to annually file the application, and they would have to be showing that they were
Right.
meeting the requirements.
Right, so it's got, if they did 5 years, qualified, and then took a year off, they have to start over. Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, obviously, the idea of the 3 years is, if it was served for a month, I think the whole village would join the fire department, right?
Pardon?
If it was served for 1 month, and then you get the benefit, then the whole village,
Oh, no.
Would join the
3 years-
fire department.
3 years seems reasonable.
Yeah.
For intent. It was just what happens if they,
yeah, no,
after the
it's,
3 years and before the 20.
yeah, good question. So I think we've answered that, right? Other comments before we close the public hearing?
Sounds great. Sounds like it is the least
Deserved,
that,
there's no doubt, deserved.
Yeah.
it isn't, yeah, it is definitely the least that can be done amongst all the other things that you do, so.
Thank you for that. Is there a motion to close the continuation of the public hearing on local law C? That was moved by Mangieri. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so public hearing is closed. Council, shall I move forward with the passage of the law?
You could now do that.
Okay, good. Shouldn't have that coffee this afternoon. Get a little fired up. Get the meeting, go, go, go. Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve local law C proposed of 2023 volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers property tax exemption?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. A roll call, please. Deputy Mayor Major?
Aye.
Trustee Baldino?
Aye.
Trustee Schilling?
Aye.
Trustee Mangieri?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Okay, now that is local law 3, 2023. And again, thank you to Tivoli Fire Department. Okay, next we have the 2024 village budget. We thank the trustees for their work on this. We had our public hearing last week. For the public who weren't here last week, we are proposing to take about half of what we're entitled to take under the tax cap. We would have been allowed to take as much as adding $16,000 to the budget and still remaining under the tax cap. We feel, because we've been able to save some money in some other areas, that we don't need to take that entire amount, so we're proposing a $10,000 tax increase spread across all the properties in the village. And other than that, you know, like everyone else in the last year, our costs went up. We were able to save some money by decreasing the frequency of our landfill monitoring. This is a little Byzantine, but we have a landfill out on Freeborn Lane, which we monitor. We've had years and years and years of consistent, flat, non-threatening data. So we asked the DEC if we could do that every other year instead of every year, and they said yes, so that'll save us about $3,500 a year. And also because we reduced the Department of Public Works full-time staff by 1, and then added back a part-time worker, that also saves the village quite a bit of money. So with that little explanation, we've had our public hearing. Is there a motion to adopt the 2024 budget? And is there a second?
Second.
That was Baldino, followed by Major. Deputy Mayor Major?
Aye.
Trustee Baldino?
Aye.
Trustee Schilling?
Aye.
Trustee Mangieri?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Okay, we have a budget. Thank you all. And lastly, we have a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant under the Municipal Investment Grant Program. This is through Dutchess County. The most we can ask for is $300,000. We're going to ask for that much. This would be towards the firehouse expansion project, and we are going to found a nice fit as you look at all the pieces of that project. The HVAC and fire suppression improvements that will be necessary for the new building come to about $300,000, so we're going to ask for sort of that part of the project. And I want to thank our village engineer, Ryan Laux, for hustling on this. It is due in early May, and the board doesn't meet again before then to authorize that submission. So with that, trustees, is there a motion to authorize the submission of the MIG 300K for the firehouse expansion?
I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
That was Major, followed by Schilling. Roll call, please. Deputy Mayor Major?
Aye.
Trustee Baldino?
Aye.
Trustee Schilling?
Aye.
Trustee Mangieri?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. We will submit that grant. I'm going to jump out of order and also crow about the fact that we, since we met, we did win a other grant from the county, $150,000 for the firehouse expansion. That one is for the drainage portion. We got that news about 2 weeks ago. So clearly, the county understands what the TFD is doing in the northern part of the county, and we're very grateful for their support on that previous CDBG, and we will hope to have another MIG this year, and we won this from them last year as well. So, you know, every bite at the apple, we're getting there. So 150,000 is nothing. Seize that, 300,000 will be even nicer. So fingers crossed.
When do we find out?
Let's see, announced midsummer, they're due in May, yeah. The next village board meeting will be held Wednesday, May 17th at 7 o'clock here at the historic Watts de Peister Hall, preceded by a workshop at 6, and we have our regular workshop May 10th at 6 p.m. Moving on to committee reports, Trustee Schilling, please.
The only thing I really have to say is the Tivoli Fire Department, they're having a benefit Saturday at Lasting Joy Brewery, 4 to 8, I'm sorry, over 485 Lashing Road. So hopefully we'll see some of us all there.
Great, thank you. Trustee Baldino, do you want to read the court report?
So this month, we have total money collected and remitted to the state comptroller, $3,480 in fines, $972 in surcharges, 0 in civil fees, $4,452 in total money collected.
Thank you. It was a bigger month.
Big month.
Yeah,
Lot of speeding
looking at
tickets.
that.
The last meeting.
Yeah. last week.
I've seen, not to jump in, but I've seen the police action happen and pulling people over. Also troopers on IG, which I don't know if it's us or if it's just happening. But
Well, those tickets come to our court, but they choose when they operate, but yeah, they've been up
last
on IG.
weekend, we're gonna get a lot because it was,
Yeah.
that guy was out there in full force.
All right, well, that's a good segue to Trustee Mangieri, who has the monthly police report totals from Red Hook PD.
For the month of March, there were 19 incidences, 17 uniform traffic tickets were issued, 48 parking tickets, and 1 arrest.
Thank you, Trustee Mangieri. Again, I just want to let folks know that if you're having an emergency, call 911. If you need police services for other reasons, it's 845-758-0060, which is Red Hook PD. It's a good time to remind folks that we did lower the village speed limit village-wide to 25. The new signs are up. I got my rose-colored glasses on, but I think it's doing something. People are always skeptical, but I think it makes a difference. And Red Hook PD is writing those tickets as well. So please remember the speed limit is lower than it was last time you looked, maybe. So, Deputy Mayor Major, please.
Great things as always going on at the library. Check it out. Tarot, mahjong, hooks and needles, yarns and thread, toddler story time, and come learn to make a lava lamp. That seems to be a repeat, which I missed the first time. So I think that's Saturday the 29th. A couple of historic things going on. Olana has a historic photograph collection, which is apparently enormous, and they have a guest curator who has chosen a bunch of like 19th century really cool landscapes in particular. So that I believe starts May 4th. But if you go to Olana's website, tickets are like $12 for adults, free for kids, and it looks really cool. At Claremont, 2 things coming up. One is a talk on Sunday, April 23rd. It's called Livingston's in the Fight for Women's Rights. So it's a free talk Sunday, April 23rd at 6 p.m. And then the following Saturday is the Sheep and Wool Showcase, and that's 11/4. So it's always nice to be at Claremont, and maybe that's, maybe the 29th of April is one step closer to Lilacs. And at long last, the canoe launch is out. It is dropped in the water. Head on down there, check it out. A couple nights ago I was down there, and there were muskrats who were making a ruckus. And the 14th or 15th annual Hudson River Sweep is May 6th, and we're going to be doing it down at the river in partnership with the Ozone and Riverkeeper as usual. And it's a great opportunity to come and pick up trash. And also, having done this for the past 15 years, I can tell you there's been an appreciable difference in the amount of garbage. Like the first couple of years, we were pulling out like, you know, multiple tires and like beer bottles aplenty and just plastic. And it's still, you know, problematic, but it's not as bad as it was. And, you know, maybe that's, you know, more people being, you know, taking care of their crap, but also, you know, probably less people using the river, which is sad. But it's a good time and it feels good, and I don't know, I always get a good duck decoy out of it, or, you know, some odd something or other. So, May 6th, down at the river, come on down. Ticks, watch out for them.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We are now out of the winter parking ordinance period, which ended April 1st, so we can park on the street all night long. Okay.
It's not backwards.
No.
Just not backwards, or in front of a yellow curb, or a sign, or a driveway. But yes. The village board a year ago started to do some drainage studies around the village. We did a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 2 is wrapping up right now, and so I want to sort of let people know that in mid to early June, I don't have the dates yet, but we're going to schedule 2 public forums. Those are going to be on what we ended up with as our 2 sort of critical areas. We're going to split them into 2 nights. So there'll be a presentation one night on the Montgomery Street and Faroe Avenue area. We'll have the engineer here, Ryan Morrison from Ty & Bond, who will present their findings of the analysis of that particular area and proposals about what kind of infrastructure could be implemented to address some of the flooding and drainage issues in that area. And then there will be another night, which will be all of Tivoli Acres, and same thing that's been analyzed by the engineer, how much water is coming in, how much water can flow through the existing infrastructure, what kind of infrastructure might need to be added. And so we thought we'll split them into 2 nights so that if you're on Thoreau, you don't necessarily have to listen to all of Memorial and vice versa. Not just Memorial, that's kind of the worst street in the development, but the entire development is a single watershed, so that'll all be there. So I will have dates for those very soon. I'll be doing a village email blast to let folks know when they are. And I certainly encourage folks from both neighborhoods to follow what's going on, because obviously in a small place, you don't need any portion of the village going underwater. And we should all care about what's happening to our neighbors. So that's coming up. Also, as I'm sure everyone in this community knows, we lost the Honorable Howard Clark last month, and with his passing, I have appointed the previous acting justice, Danielle Cordier, who's a longtime Tivolian. She is now the justice for the village. And she had been acting justice for about 5 years, worked closely with Justice Clark and the court clerk, and actually presided for most of last fall while Justice Clark was ill. So she's experienced and she knows our courtroom, and so she is now serving in the full capacity. She will serve out the remainder of his term, which ends a year from now. The justice has a 4-year term. And then there will be an election at the village elections next year for justice. And I want to thank her for stepping into that role and agreeing to serve in a larger capacity. I talked about our CDBG we just won a few moments ago for the firehouse drainage, but the year before we won one for sidewalk improvements, and that's gonna, the bids are out. We're gonna have those bids back in about 2 weeks, I believe at the May workshop, hopefully we'll be awarding the contract to a contractor. And this is to do the about 500-foot run from Plain Hall up towards Woods Road to sort of entrance of Cotsbon, all that old broken bluestone. It's gonna get a 5-foot wide ADA compliant concrete sidewalk with new drainage features and whatnot. That construction may happen in early, well, it's probably gonna get pushed back a little bit. I was hoping to get this done sort of more towards June, but honestly, it might be more towards July, but we'll see. Again, it'll depend on how the bids come back. But soon, early summer, we're gonna be tearing out all that bluestone. The village is gonna keep the bluestone, except for the little busted up bits. We'll probably have a people's pallet, and you can come get little tiny pieces, but any pieces that could be reused, the village is going to keep for other applications in the future around the village. That obviously is something we'd like to do, but it was also the advice we got from SHPO, which stands for State
Historic
Preservation Office.
Yeah, but now it's something else. Now it's ORHP. It's the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Resources.
Of course they do. Yeah. So, but we listened to them about historic assets, and we're going to hang on to the good bluestone. And I guess lastly, before we open to public comment, having just been elected to my 5th term as mayor, I just want to take a moment and say thank you to everyone who works for the Village of Tivoli, clerk, treasurer, our court clerk, assistant court clerk, DPW, everyone who serves with me here on the village board, all the volunteers. It's a great honor to be able to serve this village as long as I'm going to get to. And it takes all of us, and I'm just very grateful to get to work with everybody. And it's our village to take care of or to let it go to pot, and I'm glad we're doing the former with everyone pitching in and helping. So thank you. I'm very grateful for the vote of confidence, and looking forward to the next 2 years. So with that, we'd like to open the floor to... Yeah.
A lot of us are probably aware of Indian Point is trying to release radioactive waste water into the Hudson River.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Ulster County exec, Jim Metzger, is kind of taking the lead on this. I'm wondering could we write a letter? Joel, could you write a little letter?
Yeah, we can write a letter.
To...
Who's the regulating agency that's overseeing that?
You know what, I'm not sure, but
Well, why don't we get together tomorrow and just figure it out?
Go.
Yeah, because, obviously, that's a huge concern, and we're not one of them, but there are many communities that take their drinking water from the Hudson as well.
Yeah.
So I think I read that was just put on hold briefly.
It's put on hold right now
Yeah,
because of all the uproar about it.
yeah.
We don't want to see
Well, let's
that.
find the uproar.
Yeah. Also, our deputy mayor is doing a presentation at Tivoli Artist Gallery next month.
Is it the 27th? I think?
27th?
Yeah.
And it starts at
At, did we say 6?
5.
5:30, 6 o'clock, something around there.
And you're going to speak about...
I'm going to speak about Tivoli's Four Corners. It's going to be 150 years of fights. No, wait, what was it? Fights,
drinking.
Fets, and Fires?
Fights,
Yes.
Fits, and Fires. Very good title for the talk.
Yeah. So if you can make it,
I promise good slides.
it's excellent. Emily is excellent.
Oh.
It's a good time.
Village historian,
Yes.
town historian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get away from history, I dare you.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for those, Trustee Schilling. Public, good evening, thank you for joining us, and we're eager to listen to you.
Hi. Two things. First, over the past couple of years, it seems like the cell service coverage in the village of Tivoli from Verizon Wireless has deteriorated substantially to the point where we cannot even conduct a phone call in our home sitting in a chair without multiple drops. And I've asked the village to reach out and talk to Verizon about analyzing what's going on here in the village and improving the service. And it was especially noticeable last February of 2022 during the ice storm when the power was out, Many of us don't have landlines anymore because of the way that the industry has changed, and you can't use your cell phone and you can't use the internet. The service has been horrible. I've reached out to Verizon myself at this point, see if they're gonna give us a network extender or not for our home. I believe one of our neighbors has a network extender. But this is an issue that I think applies to all village residents and is a real safety issue.
Yeah. What, have they said anything to you? In your
I just
efforts?
called them finally the other day. Finally got to the point where I decided to call them. And they opened the ticket and they're gonna do a study. But I know that, again, I'm pretty certain my wife had said that one of our neighbors had gotten a network extender. And I've heard other people in other areas who have been given network extenders by Verizon in an area where there's coverage issues. But
Okay.
it's a safety, even with a network extender, it's a safety issue during power outages, and it's just, something's gotta happen.
Yeah, we'll be happy to reach out to them and find out what's going on.
All right.
Yeah.
T-Mobile is better, but also really, really bad. Especially, for some reason, especially today, I was just in my kitchen in the middle of Broadway, and I couldn't load anything or call anyone, and I was like, what is happening?
I mean, it's likely related to the change to 5G and the lower antennas, but that's for the experts to figure out. But it's really been noticeable. Our sons call us once a week to stay in touch. And the call drops 3, 4, 5 times a night to the point where you have to get on the landline to call them on their cell phone. It's just untenable at this point in time, and it shouldn't be it.
Yeah.
It needs to be addressed. Now, I'm going to go back to the situation affecting our personal property and the complaint that I filed with the town, with the village. Back in October, I came for the board with an extensive schedule of communications on what's happened. You assured me at that point in time that violations would be issued and that the issue would be resolved and the village was taking the matter seriously. It's been 6 months and I heard nothing back from anyone. So over the weekend, I sent a note out to the building inspector. You may or may not have received it because it seems like perhaps the mayor at Tivoli.org has an issue with the email. I got a bounce back on my email that was no longer an active account. I also got an email a couple of weeks, or within the last week or so, from an unknown source that seemed like maybe your email address had been hacked. But anyway, I sent an email to the zoning officer on Saturday, asking for an update, as it had been 6 months. The response I received is this: John, the owner of this property has removed more impervious surface to be in compliance. No details, no calculations, no sketches, no maps. Now, I gotta ask you, Mayor, and then all the board members, does that sound like the village is taking this issue and the complaint seriously? And would a reasonable person read that response as the village taking action seriously? I think the answer would most likely be no, but I don't know. If you allow me to approach, I have some pictures for you that were taken just last night.
Sure.
And I would challenge anyone to look at these pictures and tell me that this lot is in compliance with 35% coverage by the zoning laws. The fact that the zoning officer responded like that, knowing that last year he told me there was a violation. You told me a violation. And he responds like that. How am I supposed to take it that the village is taking this matter seriously? It's just not there. It's not being backed up with words and action.
Right.
This is 6 years of going back and forth with this. This is the prior village zoning officer providing a building permit on a lot that was likely already in violation of the zoning ordinance. And then to get a response like that, I am just livid, Mr. Mayor. And at this point in time, I'm going to ask, and I hate to use the word demand because demand is so strong, but last year, I did not agree that the zoning enforcement officer did a full assessment of the property in terms of how much was actually covered. I'm asking for a full, complete assessment of that property. All impervious surfaces down to the last square foot of masonry, brick, and everything else is on that property. And then you have to give me some assurance that you're going to do something about this. You've already acknowledged that they were in violation, and that's without even doing a full survey. So what is it going to take to get action here?
Well, he told you that more things have been removed and that there's not a problem anymore. Is that what he just wrote? Now, I agree with you that him just saying that without any additional detail would leave me deeply unsatisfied.
John, the owner of this property has removed more impervious surface to be in compliance.
Okay, so,
That's the extent of the email.
And we,
No attachments, no maps, no nothing. And you look at those pictures there, nothing substantial of size has been removed from that property since last year. Nothing.
okay, well,
All the outbuildings are there, the pool, all the masonry work, all the patios, nothing has been removed.
okay,
This is a
well, I'm gonna have
completely
to speak with
bogus
him and
response.
find out why he thinks that it is in compliance now and what he says has been removed. So I'm gonna have to follow up on that. I can't answer that right now.
Well, yeah, I'm asking for a full survey. Not just what he did last year, which is take it off a map, or what I pointed out. Everything on that property needs to be surveyed, that's considered impervious. And this is just ridiculous that this is going on like this, and I have to suffer through this, and our property has to suffer through this, and I have to come and waste your time on this.
I will speak with him tomorrow and I'll get in touch with you, John.
And then again, I don't know about your email, but I did get a bounce back, the mayor of Tivoli being no longer active.
All right, well, thank you for letting me know about that as well. We've had some problems, I'm gonna have to get to the bottom of it with the communication.
And those pictures were taken just last night to prove that nothing has been removed of any substance.
Do you have before photos, John?
Pardon?
Do you have before photos from when this all started?
I have emailed the village with photos and videos for 6 years. I tried to get the village to stop the installation next door and add it to the problem, and they failed to act.
I see.
Again, if you go back and you have your notes, if you kept them from last year, I gave you a timeline of all my communications, which if you would like another copy, I can certainly email it to the village. The fact that this has gone on this long without actual correction and to be given that response is just a slap in the face. And Mr. Mayor, I'm not going away. I'm at a point where I'm not going to stay on this unless you come back with definitive calculations and definitive readings of the zoning articles that I'm wrong. But being that you've already told me it was not in compliance, I don't think you're going to be able to tell me that I'm wrong.
Right, well, I was over there myself last year, and it was certainly more than 35%, and so he was issued a violation, and
And
the code
nothing changed.
enforcement officer was supposed to work on it.
All the you can see that all the outbuildings are still there. The pool is still there. The patios are all still there. The front wall is still there in the front. Those pictures don't even show the front of the property.
Well, so we just need to see why that
Well,
response was
before,
given, right?
before and after, and what does the code enforcement officer think was removed that would cause him to say that it's been addressed? So Mr. Collins is saying that this is not adequate, so lots of,
Look at the pictures. Nothing's been removed.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the buildings and the deck and the pool, I mean, when I was there were all sorts of building materials all over the place, which I don't see in these photographs, but, you know, I'll have to see if that's what the code enforcement officer thinks.
So you don't need all those other building permits. There's enough, over 35% right there that I demonstrated in the past.
Right.
So, again, I wish I didn't have to come here and waste your time with this, but
Well, you're not wasting our time, Mr. Collins. You know, I have to get with the building inspector, get his tape measure, and make him do it. You know, I can't measure these things for you and do that. That's his job, so.
he did not do a full assessment last year of the entire property, and I'm requesting a full assessment. Every piece of masonry on that property, every out property, every building, everything that's out there that's considered impervious.
Okay, you've made your request.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Other public comment?
This is a little, 11th hour, I suppose. I was inevitably detained. Anyway, I was wondering if the village has declared a climate emergency prior. If that's something that you'd be willing to consider at this time in light of the recent IPCC report and given the adjacency to Earth Day coming up in a few days. The situation is dire, to put it lightly. A declaration is not some, you know, but it is something, and I think there's a lot of capacity for everyone to forget on an ongoing basis, you know, the scope of the crisis that we face. And that kind of acknowledgement at a local level, I think, is important in terms of reminding everyone that it doesn't have to be a thing that says, you know, we're on top of this. It's just this is out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we'd be happy to consider that. We are working with our Climate Smart Communities Task Force and have, you know, some folks, you know, again, we're tiny, we're a small piece of the world, but I think your point about you can still, you know, point to the problem without necessarily saying we're on top of this, that I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that'd be great, because the suggestion is best case scenario, we gotta have those carbon emissions in like 2 years.
Yeah.
For a livable planet, so.
Right. We'll look around as well and see, you know, what local communities are doing in terms of like statements like that, and get a sense of what makes sense. But I certainly think that's something we can consider.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I wanted to ask if, I know last year on the 18th, there was a huge celebration because it was Tivoli 150. I was wondering if you're doing that just regularly on June 18th? Like, not the big celebration, but are you doing a celebration of some sort?
We will go back to our regular annual celebration, which is Tivoli Community Day, which is the first Saturday in August.
Oh, okay, so it's not on the birthday of the village, but...
No, and that wasn't exactly on the birthday either.
Oh.
The actual birthday was sometime in early July or something, but it was just like the weekend that wasn't Red Oak High School graduation, that wasn't 4th of July, it wasn't Memorial Day. It was,
That's funny, I had no idea because it's Sadie's birthday too, so it's like, what a coincidence.
well, I'll give you a nice little bit of history that we can all, you know, brush up on, if I may.
Oh,
May I have the
please.
blessing? Okay, thanks. Just an amateur over here. So in 1972, when the village was looking at its centennial, they planned a big centennial, which was a huge 3-day bash when they got to do things that we didn't even get to do, although we came pretty close. I think we did well for our era. I'm mostly referring to the amount of beer that was around, but you know, they did an amazing thing in 1972. That was mostly Bernard Teeger, I think, led that. The late art professor and village historian, and the gentleman who the chess table is dedicated to and the bridge is named after. So after that, he thought, and they thought, well, we got to keep this going. So that's how Community Day started. Like in 73, 4, and onward, they said, well, we can't do a 3-day thing with the Hudson Valley Philharmonic on Broadway every year, but we can keep this community spirit going. And so that's when that went on. And that ebbed and flowed, and I believe before I was mayor, there hadn't been a Community Day for a couple of years, and that was something I was very eager to bring back, because I just think it's important for us, with all the daunting things we think about, to remember to enjoy our time together on this world, in this life, in this village. And so 2015, we brought that back, and then we were like, oh wow, it's going to be the sesquicentennial, we better do that. So we're going to go back to the one-day thing. It'll be in the park. I'm talking to the TFD about adult beverages, we'll see, but we're going to have the bands and the DJ and the dancing and hot dogs.
Dog tank?
No.
Yeah, the hoses again.
No dog tank?
You can be in the dog tank. I'll never do that again. Didn't walk for days. Yeah, and we'll be looking for help with that too, so I'll let you know. I'm sure.
Which day is it again?
Whatever the first Saturday is in August. And so picture a compressed sesquicentennial, no
Sounds
parade,
great.
no fireworks.
For Saturday of August?
August. Yeah.
But really a bullion cube of celebration, just,
Yeah.
right?
And then we go right from there, we'll clean up, and then Monday is the first day of the children's camp, so that's fun.
August 5th.
August 5th, there you go.
Cool, thank you.
Trying to think if there's anything else on that. Yeah, and you know, all those photographs downstairs, we've been taking those at the community days, and that's one of my very favorite things that we've been doing, because those, you look at 2015 already, and,
We were young.
well, that, but There's that. You know, there's also a lot of, you know, wonderful Tivolians in those photos who aren't with us anymore, and there's little kids who've grown up and people who've moved away, and, you know, it just is a great record of community.
Yeah.
So we'll get the Bullying Cube on August 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can start thinking about the centennial, or the bicentennial, 50 years, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll keep in mind. Speaking of Bernie Teeger, just an update of one of the historic buildings on Broadway. We finally got, after a year and 4 months being open, we now have a compliant, ADA compliant ramp in the back of 48 Broadway after the fight.
Great.
It's not like concrete or anything, it's just the same stuff, but it's no longer bumpy and it's the right size and it's the right grade.
Nice.
And we're working with Trustees to install signs that will also designate that parking spot right by the building to be an accessible parking spot, which will be the only one in that entire parking lot that's being used by 3 different buildings and more. Yeah.
That's
it.
great. Congrats.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sometimes things take time, but they get done.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we've been working with a nice group, TRI, and I'm actually going to be, I don't know if it's keynote speaker, but I'm on the poster. June 25th at the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Library, they're having a large event for, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to misspeak, but myself and both county executive candidates are going to be there talking about inclusivity and everything that we can do for the differently abled. I think there's music and maybe food and it's the whole thing, so I'll get some more information out about that. But they've been so impressed with what we've done in Tivoli, which frankly I'm like, if we're the poster child, that's yee. But seriously, I mean, even in a little place, we've done, and it's in all our grant applications, and we really have been trying to do what we can, and not just the public, but the private and the businesses and stuff, so that's great. Anything further from the public or the board? All right, and I want to thank Village Council for catching me on that matter. It's very, very appreciated. That's good. I was off and running. No, but it's important. Fishing magnet, yeah. Okay, trustees, is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? 7:56. Thank you all very much.
I think we're having